Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to peel back the curtain on a 10-day global prayer event to figure out, how on earth do you design a spiritual journey for literally thousands of people at once? You ever stop and think about how something like a global spiritual event actually gets put together? I mean, it's this huge design challenge, right? So today, we're going to unpack the architecture of one of these things. We'll look at just a single day to see how they guide people from quiet, personal thoughts all the way to group action. So, what's the secret sauce? What's the blueprint for an experience like this? I mean, really, how do you take a big, kind of abstract idea and make it real and personal for thousands of people? Well, let's dive in and break down the framework they use. Okay, so this event is called 10 Days of Prayer, and it comes with a daily guide. And here's the key to the whole thing: consistency. Every single day, and I mean every day, is built around the exact same, really intentional, three-part structure. Think of it like a spiral, kind of moving from the inside out. Each day kicks off with you, by yourself, just reflecting. Then it expands out to a small group, your family, your close friends. And finally, it all comes together in this big gathering with the whole church community. It's this intentional flow from solo to small group to the big crowd. And they do this every single day. All right, so to really see how this framework actually works, we're going to zoom in, way in on just one day from the guide. Day 8. By taking this one day apart, piece by piece, we'll see exactly how a theme gets woven through that whole personal to community structure. So what's day 8 all about? The big theme is practical, sacrificial love inside the faith community. And they don't just pull this out of thin air. The guide grounds this whole idea in a specific passage from the New Testament book of Acts. And this passage is famous for describing the pretty radical generosity of the very first Christians. Okay, so here we go. The journey for day 8 begins with that first really crucial step, a personal challenge. This is your solo time. It's where you're asked to really wrestle with the scripture on your own before you talk about it with anyone else. And get this, the guide doesn't just say, hey, read this. No, it pushes you to actually imagine the reality. I want you to think about this for a second. What if your community of, say, 100 people suddenly became 300 overnight? The guide really makes you think about the intense strain, logistically, emotionally, that kind of massive growth would put on everyone's resources, their patience, and their love. And then it connects that ancient story directly to right now. The guide pulls in this quote to basically suggest that if we had that same kind of radical generosity and spirit today, we'd see similarly powerful results. It's like building a bridge from an ancient text straight into modern life. So after you've had that personal time to think, the experience spirals outward, just like we talked about. Now, the theme gets explored in that second circle, that small, cozy group of family or friends. And this is where things get really interesting. The guide moves from just thinking about it to actually doing something. To make a big concept like love feel real and concrete, they use an interactive activity. It's basically a game of charades. So it's not just another discussion. It's about physically acting out and recognizing these acts of love in a really playful, personal way. And to back this all up, the scripture for this part reinforces the theme with what's known as the new commandment. And look, this isn't just a general, hey, be nice to each other kind of thing. It's pushing for a very specific Christ-like model of love to be the standard for the whole community. All right, now we get to the grand finale of the day, the evening gathering. This is where everyone comes together from their small circles into one big group. It's the moment when all those personal thoughts and small group chats get woven together into one big shared community experience. And the worship part follows this really clear, intentional sequence. First, you start with thanks, gratitude for God's love. Then you move to confession, admitting where you've fallen short and loving other people. And finally, you ask for help, for the power to love in a more sacrificial way. See that flow? Receive love, admit failure, ask for help. Super clear. Now, the connect activity for the big group is kind of cool. It mirrors what they did in the small groups, but on a larger scale. People are encouraged to just pair up with someone and share a personal story of care, something they saw or something they received. And you can see the point, right? It's all about building this sense of shared history and gratitude in the room. Then, the guide sends people back to that scripture passage from Acts 2. They're asked to list out the specific and honestly pretty radical ways the very first believers supported each other. And the unspoken challenge here is, it's powerful. You're basically being asked to hold up that historical ideal next to your own community and compare. And this next part is so important. The guide then gives them this quote to explain the attitude behind all those actions. It really emphasizes that this sacrificial living wasn't some grim, heavy duty. No, it was motivated by joy, by tenderness, and this deep sense of community. What the quote calls the sweetness of communion with saints. What a great phrase. So the entire evening has been building up to this. This is the peak. The leader makes a direct appeal, inviting people to make a real personal commitment to actively and intentionally care for their church family, but with a whole new level of awareness and sacrifice. But hold on, it doesn't just end there. The experience is designed to not stop when the meeting's over. Nope. It's structured to spill over directly into the next 24 hours, turning that commitment they just made into an immediate, real-world assignment. And here it is, the final crucial piece of the puzzle, a tangible call to action. This isn't just, hey, try to love people more. It's a direct challenge. Find one specific need for one specific person and meet that need before we meet again tomorrow. Wow, that's the step that makes this whole thing practical. It makes it accountable. And, all of this leaves us with a really big, thought-provoking question, one that goes way beyond just this one event. What does it actually mean to love a community sacrificially? And I mean any community, your family, your neighborhood, your faith group. What does that truly selfless care look like in practice? That's the huge challenge Day 8 is really trying to get at.